a lot. All right, let me bring in Mr. James Healy-Pratt into this conversation as well. James, you've heard what Pierre had to say. They slowed down, and that is the reason why they came down and this crash occurred. What is your theory of what happened here?
Well, I think we'd all agree that we're going to wait for the black boxes to be downloaded and decoded, because I've been investigating airline crashes for over 30 years. And the black boxes will provide us with 90 to 95% of the answers. And that's, of course, what the families want to know. What is obvious is that the wings were generating lift. The 787 did take off, and then there was insufficient thrust and the gear was down. The gear, the undercarriage, should have been retracted pretty much after rotation at the end of the threshold of the runway. It wasn't. So that could either point to a problem in the cockpit with the pilots, but it could also point to a problem with the aircraft and the aircraft systems. And that's why the black box data, both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, are essential evidence for the investigators and, of course, the families.
James, why do you think it was, not evident to the pilots that there was a potential problem lying ahead? What must they have missed in order for this to happen?
Well, I'll tell you in about 30 days when the black box cockpit voice recorder is released. But they obviously considered the aircraft was airworthy to take off, and problems only emerged once we know that one of the crew made a mayday call. It's yet to be confirmed if the mayday call said anything about loss of thrust. There's been lots of rumour and speculation, but that has not been corroborated yet. So it looks like the crew were faced with an emergency situation and they had very few options. And of course, the reasons for that emergency situation will be revealed by the evidence of the black box. But right. I come back that the undercarriage was down, the gear was down, it should have been retracted. Now, I'm only a helicopter pilot, I'm not a 787 pilot, but I know, we all know enough about aviation that gear should have been retracted. So that could be a key factor in pointing to a potential systems failure. And the other thing that I've been looking at in the Indian media today, there are rumours that the Indian government may decide to ground the Dreamliner. If they do that, they'll do that because they suspect there is a safety issue with the Dreamliner. And Boeing don't want that. That is terrible news for Boeing. So we'll watch that very closely in relation to what air safety decisions the Indian government and the regulators in India do as for the Dreamliner.
James, there have been problems with Boeing, right? There have been congressional hearings. The CEO of Boeing has appeared before it and has been grilled incessantly by American lawmakers. Do you think this crash, in a way, also underlines that problem, that conspiracy, that theory of Boeing's being overrated in some way or the other?
Well, again, look, I'll tell you in 30 days' time after the black boxes have revealed their secrets, but it's no secret that Boeing have had a terrible time over the last 7 or 8 years. I was involved in the Lion Air and the Ethiopian Airlines Boeing MAX accidents, and it took 2 airliner disasters for the 737 MAX to be grounded. So completely needless loss of life. I think we need to look very closely at what their responsibility to the Indian travelling public is. But all we do have is the prior evidence that Boeing did not behave properly in relation to the first MAX accident, and it took the second mass disaster with Ethiopian for things to actually get done. But needless lives were lost. One prays that there will not be another Dreamliner accident anytime soon. But again, we come back to the black boxes and what action the Indian government may make in relation to grounding the Dreamliner.
James, one bit of information, the same aircraft that same morning had come in from Delhi to Ahmedabad, where there are a number of videos that were made of the air conditioning not working, the entertainment system not working. Is that a sign to you in any which way?
Look, it may or it may not be relevant. All those ancillary systems are not core to the airworthiness of the aircraft. and there's something called a minimum equipment list. And if the ICE is not operating properly, that's not going to affect the actual operation and the airworthiness of the aircraft itself. So at the moment, we can't say whether that is material and significant or not. I get back to that theme of the black boxes. They will have at least 90% of the evidence.
All right, James, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. Thank you so much for joining us. It really means a lot. All right, let me bring in Sumit Peer into this